Hi, kids. This is our last week learning about the Beatitudes together. We're going to jump right in and hear which Beatitude we're learning about and then wrap things up. So let's get started.
Blessed are you when people revile you, and persecute you, and utter all kinds of evil against you, falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you.
Jesus ends the Beatitudes with a strong word of encouragement for us. In this final blessing, Jesus says again to his followers that they will be blessed when they face persecution. If you remember back to our kids' moment last week, we talked about persecution, and we learned together that persecution is when people are treated badly or unfairly because of their identity, their race, or their beliefs. Jesus told his followers that it wasn't a matter of if they would be persecuted, but when. He knew that when people tried to live out his teachings and follow his words, that they might lose friends or be disliked. We know that to follow Jesus is to face the things that Jesus faced, and Jesus faced a lot of persecution in his time. We often don't like hearing that we could be persecuted for following Jesus. We don't want to be disliked or lose friends. But the good news is that we are not in this alone. And in this beatitude, Jesus points back to the prophets in the Old Testament, amazing and dedicated leaders who sided with the oppressed, who gave voice to the voiceless, who gave power to the powerless. Those prophets faced a lot of persecution. Can you think of any prophets in the Old Testament? Did I hear Jeremiah? Yep. Elijah? Great. Deborah, that's right. Daniel? And Miriam, you're right. Those are some great prophets from the Old Testament. There are also people throughout modern history who have loved Jesus and followed him and have faced persecution for that. You might have heard of someone called Dorothy Day or Martin Luther King Jr. These are both people who, in modern history, have stood up for the powerless, who have wanted justice for those who have not been treated fairly, who were persecuted for following their convictions based on the teachings of Jesus. We get to join with people from the ancient past, from recent past, and from all over the world today. We're joining with children, teenagers, adults, seniors, and we get to work together as people who want to help restore the world. We also have to remember to keep humble hearts and attitudes ourselves, because there may be times where we misunderstand and persecute others. Everyone has different and unique experiences and perspectives, and so when we don't understand why someone does something, we need to learn to ask questions first rather than jump to judgment. Jesus told us to rejoice when we are being persecuted. Rejoice? Do you rejoice or celebrate when people misunderstand or say mean things to you? Maybe you can spend some time talking with your grown-ups this week about what that means or what you might do if you feel like people are treating you badly for standing up for others. It isn't easy, but Jesus reminds us that when we make these choices, these brave choices that are sometimes unpopular to stand up for others, we are taking part in creating a world that looks more like God's home. And we also have a whole family of faith who are with us. People who followed God thousands of years ago and people who follow God today, who are with us as we follow in faith to make a better world. And that is worth celebrating. Let's recap. So, we've spent these last 8 weeks on a mountain with Jesus, and we have grown in learning and understanding. And look at all we've discovered. We've shared about God's heart, a heart of never-ending mercy and love. We've explored what God's kingdom looks like, the way the world can work when we create communities of justice and peace. And we've talked about God's promises of abundance, that there is more than enough for everyone. And we've grown more in who we are, beloved children of God. And as we've learned about God's heart, our own hearts have grown too. We've experienced God's blessing to be happy in the fullest sense. We have opened our hearts and minds to the way that Jesus calls us to live. Gentleness, humility, mercy, and love are all part of what makes us powerful. When tears and harshness and persecution happen, Jesus knows what that feels like. And we get to support one another through every step of the journey because we are part of a team of peacemakers, using our voices and what power we have to bring God's justice. Jesus said that we are blessed when we feel what the world feels and act on behalf of those in need and receive help when we need help. This is how God's kingdom is on earth, a kingdom that everyone can be a part of. Before we come to an end this week, let's remember Jesus' words.
Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
Blessed are those who mourn,
Blessed are those who mourn,
for they will be comforted.
for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth.
Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled.
Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy.
Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God.
Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God.
Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
Blessed are you when people revile you, and persecute you, and utter all kinds of evil against you, falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you.
Thanks for journeying together with me through the Beatitudes. That's it for this week, kids. See you next time.